the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic trick. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Delier medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast here in this lovely Monday afternoon, ready to rip and tear into all things footy from round 2 of the NRL Telstra Premiership season. What a fantastic start to the season we've already had. I am going like an absolute busted asshole in the footy tipping. I can't get anything right, but that just goes to show how close this competition already is. It's so enjoyable to watch. I don't really mind, maybe if you're following my tips because you think I'm a professional, steer away from that. I'm doing my tips, as a footy fan. And as a footy fan, I'm enjoying the fact that no two games are the same. All these teams that you tip the first week or you don't tip and they get those wins, then you tip them the second week and they don't. That's fine, and I really enjoy watching that as a footy fan. So it means the tips aren't going great. I don't look like a footy professional from that sense, but it makes for some really entertaining footy. And kicking things off with that entertaining footy from round 2 of the season was the Knights and the Dolphins with the first game of the round on the Thursday night. The Knights getting their second win of the season, now undefeated. They won this game against the Dolphins 26-12. And I thought they were really good, to be honest. Like, the thing with the Knights is I tipped the Dolphins in this one. I tipped against the Knights in the first game too. I thought they were really good in their trials, which we put up in our preseason magazine over on the Instagram. But I still had a lot of concerns about this side, from how they played last year to the changes they made to their roster this year and just all of the noise coming out of the club. I had a lot of doubts leading into this season, to the point where they were in my bottom 2 predictions. And swiftly, all of that is changing. I thought they were really, really good in this one. They kept turning up for each other all the way to the final buzzer. Like, when the game was well and truly out of hand for the Dolphins, they just kept defending the Knights as if their lives depended on it. And it's just what you really want to see. It's every single time they needed a big play, they needed a big run, someone made it. They needed a big tackle, somebody made it. And it's this sort of footy that just turning up for your teammates and playing for the man next to you. That is what footy is all about. And if you're playing that and then the person next to you is playing for the man next to them and the person next to them is playing for the man next to them, you have a strong footy side. It's not so much about the talent, which, in fairness, they have a lot of, but it's not about that. It's about the footy game smarts and the toughness of this side and playing for your mate alongside you. You don't let down your mate, and I won't let down you. It's just... yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from this Knights side, to be honest. And the Dolphins, they weren't the best. Like, to put it bluntly, the Dolphins, they just weren't playing at the same tempo as the Knights. A lot of their passes from dummy half were really slow. The players were all getting their lines wrong in attack. They were just getting everything wrong. And I thought they really let down their halves of Isaiah Katoa and Cody Nikorima, who I thought played with really good depth and really good pace about them. But as I said, when all your teammates are getting their lines wrong or too late or just not at pace, it's really hard to make something of it. Like, to the point where Isaiah Katoa essentially did everything for that Dolphin side. And what is he, 20 years old now, maybe 21? I'd hedge my bet and say he's still 20. And he was doing everything for that Dolphins side. He set up their first try to Mark Nichols, I believe it was, simply off the back of him. Like, it wasn't just a pass close to the line. He broke the line and then linked up with him. He scored the second through a similar one, but without the pass, it was just his running game there. 19 runs, 149 metres, 1 try assist, 1 line break assist, 1 line break. And that's what, when you look at these stats, that's what's crazy about this. There is not a single other line break assist, try assist, nothing. All of it, every attacking stat was Isaiah Katoa. Sometimes, even if the tries aren't scored off them, you expect to see a few line breaks or line break assists knocking about. No, not in this game. Isaiah Katoa created all 12 of the Dolphins' points, and I felt for him big time, because he was just really let down by his teammates, in the sense that, as I said, they weren't hitting the right lines, but more so in the fact that he just had to do everything. Even the running game, 149 meters is more than any single one of the Dolphins forwards. And that's just really worrying when your 20-year-old halfback is running for more meters than any single one of your forwards. And yeah, I was a bit bullish on the Dolphins last week. You know, they had that close loss to the Rabbitohs, but with everything going on cyclone-wise in Queensland, I gave them a bit of a reprieve about that. I thought, there's a lot more going on that's more important than footy that would be weighing on their minds. I was willing to just scratch that from the record. This one, not so much. I'm sure, you know, there's still some bad stuff going on in Queensland, and I'm sure it's still playing on their minds a bit. I don't think it's nearly as much. I think that I don't really want to use it as an excuse for them, even if they want to. And I don't think they want to. I think they know full well that this was just not a good enough performance, the Dolphins. And I'm really interested to sort of see where they go from this. I still think they have the talent in the squad to make a good run and maybe not make finals, but get around that. I think they've got that talent. They've got the squad to do that. Whether or not that happens, we'll have to wait and see. In terms of their standouts, obviously we've sung all the praises we possibly could to Isaiah Katoa. I thought, you know, Herbie Farnworth done his usual stuff. Jermaine Asako done his usual stuff. Besides that, there wasn't, you know, too many players. I really liked Oren Keeley out there. I thought he made some nice runs. He was one of those only players that was really playing with a bit of aggression. I think defensively he was quite poor. He made a lot of attack, big hits, and again leading that line speed, but had a few bad reads, Oren Keeley, but he's a player that I really like and I can't wait to see more of. But besides that, yeah, there wasn't too many players that I was really impressed with for the Dolphins, unfortunately. Jeremy Marshall-King, I thought, had a really poor game. As I said, you know, passing from dummy half, weren't hitting the mark. I think there was at least two. There was definitely two that I remember, but at least two roll the ball turnovers, you know, where you play the ball and you don't put your foot to it, that he gave away. And it's just very, very simple stuff that from one of your senior players and one of your better players in the side, you just can't be affording that to happen. So I was a bit disappointed in that. Daniel Saifiti, he had some good moments, especially, you know, this game started off with the Daniel Saifiti and Jacob Saifiti clash from the opening hit-up, and that set it up to be an enjoyable game. And it was an enjoyable game, but probably not if you were a Dolphins fan, to be honest, because there wasn't too much to like from this game, to be honest. So we'll move over to the Knights and get through this one a bit quicker. The Knights, we've already just said, I had a lot of worries about this team heading into this season. And are all my concerns gone? No. Like, I don't think 2 weeks is enough to really scratch that. But they couldn't have done much more across those 2 weeks and across their preseason games to really shatter all the doubts I had about them. They're looking really, really good. A lot of their individuals, players are playing good. As a team, as I said, they're turning up for each other. And some of their more, you know, not noted signings are really impressing. James Schiller, for instance, I thought was fantastic in this one. Got through a lot of work and got rewarded with, I think, 2 tries in this one. Yeah, 2 tries from James Schiller. Greg Marju doing his usual thing, 10 tackle breaks, 211 metres, 2 line break assists from Greg Marju as well. Just really good stuff from him. He's back to his bullying best from 2023. Dane Gagai was solid out there. Bradman Best got through 200 metres as well. Of course, the big one, Kalen Ponga, he's dynamic. He had his fingerprints on absolutely everything in this game. Another game where, you know, you look at the stats and you're like, oh, he hasn't scored a try. In this game, he had 3 line break assists, 3 try assists, 5 tackle breaks, 200 metres. And again, similar to the first game, lots of great cleanup work that held the Dolphins at bay. So I think Ponga's currently leading the Dally M count with max Dally M points from both games that he's played. And I think he absolutely deserves to. It doesn't matter that he hasn't scored any tries yet. He's working so hard for this Knights team. He's leading by example. He's been fantastic. As I said, he was having so many more touches of the ball than I'm sort of used to from him. I'm loving seeing these 20-plus run games and just touching the ball on everything. I think he's been great. Fletcher Sharp, again, looking dynamic. Another 126 metres from him. You're running 5/8. Phoenix Crossland in this one, I was really impressed with. I'm one of the bigger Jaden Brayley fans in the world. I think Jaden Brayley's so good. and I still would be playing him as my starting hooker, or at least for bigger minutes in this one. But I really liked Phoenix Crossland in this game, and in fairness, I thought he was pretty good in the first game too. The big thing about him in this one, he was leading the line speed and defense, and he had a couple of big try-saving tackles. Notably, there was the one on Daniel Saifiti, his former teammate, right on the line, a steamrolling Saifiti, and Phoenix just got up and crunched him in a one-on-one tackle to save a try. And as I said, there were more times that he was just out there leading that line speed, sometimes getting bumped off, sure, but always making good contact and slowing him down for someone else to get involved in. I thought he was really, really good. 37 tackles, 0 missed out there from Phoenix Crossland. So I really liked what I saw from him. As I said, Schiller, all those other players, they looked really good. Dylan Lucas, again, genuinely could find himself in an Origin jersey this year, and if not, maybe even an Australia jersey very, very soon. He's just such a good footy player. Another try for him in the second row, 16 runs, 146 metres, and 46 tackles, 4 missed. I'm happy with 4 missed when you're making 46, so absolutely loved that. From Dylan Lucas as well. And Adam Elliott, he got his way back into this side on the bench in this one, and I thought he was really good as well. 15 runs, 174 metres off the bench. Essentially, has already been told that he can look elsewhere and find a new club, which I think he probably will. But with performances like this, you're definitely still showing that you have a place left in the NRL. So thought he was really good. And honestly, yeah, it's more of a team effort than individual effort from players in this game. I thought the Knights were just really, really good. And as I said, they just kept turning up for one another, kept making try-saving tackles when the result was well and truly put to bed. So love the way that they're playing their footy. Let's move over to the second game of the round. That, of course, being my beautiful New Zealand Warriors beating the Manly Seagulls 36-16. I was very worried straight away. Like I thought I said it last week that the Warriors, when they lost to the Raiders, I thought it was more so being overwhelmed by the bright lights of Vegas. I thought they were poor, but I didn't think that was the style of footy that we'd be seeing consistently from them. Maybe you'll get a few games here and there. There's new combinations. It's still a relatively young side from coaching and whatnot perspective. But I think more often than not, you wouldn't be seeing the sort of stuff that they threw at the Canberra Raiders. And I was vindicated a bit in how they played in this one. More than a bit. They exceeded my expectations. I thought they'd go close. I still tipped the Seagulls to win this one, though. But for the Warriors to beat the Seagulls by 20 points over in New Zealand, could not be happier. And it's so good because this was the official send-off for Tohu Harris. They put on a great show with that. Tohu Harris handing over the actual the guard, like physically with I can't remember, there's a traditional sort of leadership weapon in multiculture that Tohu Harris had, and he handed that over to Mitch Barnett and to James Fisher-Harris in the passing of the torch sort of deal there. And I thought that was really special, and I really liked the fact that the Wars got up for him and got up for this game. And to win the game is one thing, to win this emphatically was a fantastic showing by them. And I'm hoping that this is more of what we're going to see moving forward. As I said, maybe a few more games where they're a bit scrappy because it's a newish side, but I love what I saw in this one. Now, the big standout for me in this one, which is crazy because in the first game, everyone wrote him off, Luke Metcalf. He made our team of the week, which is, of course, over on the Instagram page. In the halfback jersey was unbelievable. It goes to show you can't just write someone off after one performance. Metcalf was great in the trials, and here he was in round 2 having a fantastic, one of the, probably, in my opinion, the best halfback performance of round 2. He was just fantastic. Let's pull up his stats here, and the stats really don't even tell the full story. But 1 try, 6 from 6 goals, 9 runs, 85 metres, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists. And defensively, he made 9 tackles for 1 miss as well. He was just fantastic across the park. His 5'8" partner, Chanel Harris-Tavita, thought was really good too. One of those try assists that Metcalf laid on was to Harris-Tavita. And again, Harris-Tavita in defence, I love the effort that he brings. And I think he's got a solid boot on him. I think he's a very underrated player, Harris-Tavita. So I'm really excited to see how that partnership blossoms. I thought they were both fantastic in this one. Other standout players, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck doing his usual thing. I thought Tane Tuapiki had some really good moments. I think he scored a really good try, sort of cutting back in from the right-hand side and just skipping across field, finding a gap. Looked really good there. 9 tackle breaks from him, 98 metres, which is a bit unders, but yeah, the 9 tackle breaks, 1 line break, and 1 try. Can't fault that. Charles Nickel-Klugstar, again, another player who was written off after the first week of footy. 20 runs, 171 metres, 6 tackle breaks, unbelievably safe under the high ball. To me, he's still, for the last 2 years, 3 years, I've always said he has to be our fullback, and I don't want him moved from that role. I love what he brings, and I thought he was tremendous once again in this game. I thought the centres, well, statistically, they may not look fantastic. I thought they were really good in the sort of lines they were running, in their defence, which was much improved. Loved what I saw from them. I could go through everyone, to be honest. I loved this performance from them. The forwards, Mitch Barnett and James Fisher-Harris. It was a criticism we had in the first week, is that I believe that Webby took them off at the same time, and then there was a big period where they both weren't on the field, and we lost that period pretty substantially. In this period, they played longer minutes, and they were sort of spread a little bit more evenly, not just both off, both on at the exact same time. There were periods where one was on and you'd have the other off. And they both ran for 120 metres from Barnett, 130 metres from Fisher-Harris, just doing really good things in the middle, taking it to the Manly pack that absolutely rolled the Cowboys the week prior. So I love that from the Warriors. And for me, the best player on the field, if it wasn't Luke Metcalf, had to be Wade Egan. I absolutely love Wade Egan. I'm glad that we still have him locked up for a while now. If he stays injury-free, he's such a good player. 1 try from him, 10 runs for 143 metres. The line break, I swear he had a try assist, but maybe I'm forgetting, getting that mixed up. 2 tackle breaks, 41 tackles, 2 missed. He was just outstanding. I thought Aaron Clark was really good with 150 metres in his 45 minutes on the field. Just really, really toned performance from the Warriors, and they went to the final whistle. For the Seagulls, very disappointing considering, you know, how they played the week prior, and honestly, how they opened this game. Tom Trbojevic crossed in the 3rd minute, and I thought, shit, here we go. This could be a lot worse than I thought it was going to be for the Warriors. But that's sort of it. They didn't score another try for the first half. Then they scored 2 tries in the second. Very dubious tries. Obviously, I'm a Warriors supporter. Maybe there's a bit of bias in it, but I didn't think either of those were tries. Jason Saab scores one in the corner, which to me, I thought he knocked on. I thought he knocked on clear as day, to be honest. And then the Daly Cherry Evans try, which, you know, I'm happy to be given because it was a highlight reel try, and, you know, we won the game. It didn't really matter to the result. But they made a break down that right-hand side through Saab again, I believe it was. He kicked it back in field. Garrick flies through and bats it back out of the dead ball line into Cherry Evans' hands, who puts it down. To me, it looked like Garrick was on the line when he batted it back, and when he batted it back to Cherry Evans, I thought Cherry Evans was on the line. But again, it doesn't really matter. The result was well and truly, well, it wasn't out of hand at that stage. I was very worried that we'd go on to lose it after those 2 tries. But we quickly scored another couple tries to close out this game. And yeah, as I said, really good win from the Warriors and a really poor game from the Seagulls. Trbojevic and Cherry Evans both went off, and it didn't help that there was a sin bin to Jake Trbojevic in the 62nd minute. And when Cherry Evans went off with his injuries, they had already used all of their substitutions. So they had to play the rest of the game with 12 players. Even when Jake Trbojevic came back on, they couldn't put someone on for Daly Cherry Evans. So they were just a man down for a good 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes of that game. And, you know, whether or not that changes the result, I'm not really one to comment, but it's definitely something that they're going to have to try and manage in the future. Of course, they're not really expecting injuries to, you know, you don't really want to be taking off your fullback and your halfback and using 2 interchanges on that. But it wasn't that close to the end of the game. I thought they'd still have a few more interchanges in hand. So for them to have used that so early was a bit of a kerfuffle for them and did not help their case. But the big thing for them, you know, what they did against the Cowboys in round 1, they just won the middle. They were fantastic in that. And in this one, they sort of did the opposite. I mean, Taniela Paseka was really good again. I think he's really filling into the player a lot of people, including myself, have always thought he could be. But besides him, not another Manly forward ran for over 100 metres. I thought Hamoli Olakawatu was really, really well contained. I believe it was Kurt Capewell on that side who was just doing a great job of him. And yeah, no one else made that 100-metre mark. The next closest was Ethan Bullymore with 96, who I thought was pretty solid, and I like the look of him every time I see him. But yeah, besides Taniela Paseka, the Warriors really handled that middle, which is what I want from the Warriors and what I expect with the names that they've got. But it's just such a stark contrast to see what the Seagulls did to the Cowboys to what they can put up in this game. And it makes you wonder if they're still a little bit light on. Of course, there was no Siwa Taukeaho in this one, who's missed the game with a knee injury. I don't think he was really a 20-point difference in the side, though. So it's interesting to see what they're really going to be able to pull up. I believe there was no massive concerns for Trbojevic and Cherry Evans. I think they've been cleared of big injuries, so they should be right for the next week or at least 2 weeks' time, which is good. Really want to be seeing that. But yeah, I'm just interested to see what this Manly Seagulls side can do now, because after round one, I thought, yep, top four, maybe Premiership. And after this, sure, it was in New Zealand against the Warriors side with a point to prove and with the emotion behind Tohu Harris's retirement behind it. But to lose 20 points to that Warriors side, it just wasn't good enough from the Manly Seagulls. So they're going to have to bounce back and show a bit more consistency heading into the rest of the season. In terms of their standouts, I thought both wingers were really good. Lee Hohopawate topping the metre count again with 240 metres. Just absurd numbers for someone of his size. I think he's such a weapon. I really enjoyed owning him in Supercoach last year. But yeah, tremendous. Jason Saab, again with a few, I think he had a few errors in this one. Again, was the numbers. Just the one error, which isn't atrocious. Maybe I was thinking of a few passes. Yeah, Tom Trbojevic was the one who actually had a lot of errors, like missing his mark with the passes. 4 errors for Tom Trbojevic. But back to Jason Saab, sorry, because we're meant to be on the positives here. 13 runs, 166 metres, another 4 line breaks from Saab. So I think now, 2 games into the season, he's got 9 line breaks, which is just absurd numbers, and another try for him. Thought he was good. But yeah, unfortunately, besides that, not too many plays of note for the Seagulls, and yeah, they're just going to have to be better moving forward. Let's jump into the next game, though, that of course being the Panthers and the Roosters. And the Roosters came away 38-32 victors over the 4-time premiers. Anyone who says that they saw this performance coming from the Roosters is lying. They were unbelievable. Like every team obviously comes in with a game plan to upset, any team they're up against. But every team comes in with a game plan to beat the Panthers. You can study them on the tapes. You can go, they're deficient in here, and here. But there's one thing to have that game plan and then to be able to execute it. And no one has been able to when it comes to the big games. There's a reason this team has won 4 grand finals in a row. You can have those game plans, but it's so hard to execute it. To see a Roosters side this decimated by injury execute their game plan to pick apart this Panthers side, and to do it, to execute it so well is just, it's unbelievable. I thought they'd go, when I say close, I didn't think it was going to be a 50-point shellacking, but I gave them like a 30-point line in my bets. Like, I still thought it was going to be a bad loss for them to win the game. I think they're $11 underdogs at one stage once Lindsay Collins got ruled out. It's simply absurd. Let it sink in that this Roosters side that many people are picking from down the bottom, who just leaked 50 points in round 1 to the Broncos, just beat the Penrith Panthers, who are essentially full strength. And the big thing about it, as I said, with all these clubs that come in with that game plan to upset the Panthers and you can't execute it, the Roosters could not have played a more perfect game. Every single way that they've marked on how we pick them apart, they did it. And no other team has been able to do it. But this Roosters side, with all of their injuries and, where they are as a club, they did it. They executed it to perfection. And it got a bit hairy towards the end there. looked like they almost might have lost the game, and I would have been really disappointed. Not in them, but for them, because I thought they deserved this win. And I'm so happy that they got it. As I said, no one could have predicted this, and no team in the NRL could have done what the Roosters just did. That's not saying that the Roosters are the best team in the NRL, but no team could have done that game plan more perfectly than what they have. Because if they, than what the Roosters did, because if any team could have, they would have been doing it for the past 3 years. I've not seen it done the way the Roosters did it. So massive, massive shout out, massive effort to the Sydney Roosters. Look, the Panthers, on the Panthers side of things, they were uncharacteristically poor. But the big thing about the Panthers in recent years is when they have these off games and they make all these errors, they defend them. Like, it's very hard to make a team pay for them or make this Panthers side pay for their errors, but the Roosters did that. And I think, yes, as I said, the Roosters couldn't have played a more perfect game, but I think we are finally seeing a bit of a chink in the armour from the Panthers. I don't think, this team will definitely be top 4, I'd assume. I think they'll be maybe even in another grand final. I don't think they can win it this year. And I know it's round 2, and I know they beat the Sharkies in round 1. I'm not writing them off, but there's something about this team. I think with all of the losses that they've got over the years, they've got to come down at one point. I think this is the time that they finally do that. So, yeah, I'm not saying it's a, disaster performance by the Panthers. As I said, they were poor for their standards, and especially, defensively they were poor. But I think it also comes down to the Roosters playing a perfect style of footy to stop them. And I like that the Panthers still kept coming right until the final second. They were trying to win this game. They weren't letting it get out of hand, and they never really looked bothered. They never really looked like shit. We're in trouble here. After every try, they looked calm, collected, and I think they know that they can bring these games back. It didn't happen in this one, but more often than not, it will. And I'm really excited to see how they come back next week. And I worry for whoever they verse. I think they've got the Storm next week, which is going to be unreal when you think that Storm are coming off the bye and the Panthers are coming off this humiliating loss. We could be in for the best game of the season in round 3, and I just can't wait for that. In terms of standout players for the Panthers, look, you've got to say Nathan Cleary again. He had that missed conversion, like shades of Jonathan Thurston, where it came off the post. It wasn't, to win the game or whatnot, but it was to keep them within 6 points and maybe win the game after that. Came off the post. Of course, they got the penalty goal after that, so it didn't really matter. But he was trying his absolute darndest. 127 metres, 1 line break assist, 2 try assists, 5 tackle breaks, and again, just everywhere defensively. There's the Sandon Smith runaway try, and of course, it's Nathan Cleary out in chase and, an ankle tap away from saving that try. He's just such a freak of a player, and yes, they lost the game, and yes, it wasn't his best game, but it wasn't a bad one. He was darn good out there as well. Other standouts for them, thought Paul Alamotti had some good moments. Had a few issues defensively, but as I said, the Roosters sort of they just identified that and were able to execute that very well. Jack Cole, I really liked the look of Jack Cole. Another one who he was standing up and he wasn't afraid to take a big moment, like a big run, a big tackle. I liked what he was doing out there. I still think he's a great foil for Nathan Cleary. 5 missed tackles, sure. I don't remember too many of those missed tackles being abysmal. I thought it was just him putting his body in front and trying his hardest. So I liked Jack Cole. Lindsay Smith, I thought was pretty good. Isaiah Yeo was solid enough. Sorensen had some nice moments, but weren't too many ones. The big one in this one was Brian Toho had a bit of a shocker on return from, I believe it was injury. 14 runs for 128 metres, which is just very low for Toto standards. Not bad, but for Toto standards, that's abysmal. But it's just the errors. He had a few crucial errors in this game that essentially just led directly to Roosters tries. And, he had the final chance to win the game with that dive in the corner. And I don't hold it against him that he dropped that ball, but just that normally maybe Toto scores that, but because he was off his game, it just didn't happen. So a really poor game from Brian To'o, but we know the class of him. He will bounce back. In terms of the Roosters, again, I could sing the entire team's praises. I'm going to try and quick fire through this. James Tedesco, unbelievable captain's knock. He's still got so much to offer, and he's still trying everything to inspire this side. 21 runs, 154 metres, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 3 try assists, 6 tackle breaks. Daniel Tupou, who made our team of the week for the huge plays that he made. Of course, he came up with that try-saving tackle on Brian To'o, which, well, not even try-saving, the game-saving tackle from Daniel Tupou. It's just, what can you say? Like, what can you say? He could play this game until he's 50. For him to be scoring 2 tries, running for 125 metres against the Panthers, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 7 tackle breaks, and as I said, the game-saving tackle right at the death. It's fantastic. You cannot fault Daniel Tupou, to be honest. Mark Nwonganitawase, I thought he was really good, to be honest. Again, numbers don't read exceptional. They're not bad numbers, but they're not amazing numbers. But he is such an athlete. His ability to get a pass away through contact is genuinely unbelievable. So he had the 2 try assists to Daniel Tupou with, just blinder balls, but he's probably his best. I mean, arguably his best, in my opinion, would have been the set after they scored a try on that left-hand side. And they spread it pretty early in the set over to the left. There's a big lock, I think it was like left foot step, and then through contact, he throws another beautiful ball to Daniel Tupou, who sends him away down the left-hand side, who then he links up with Sandon Smith for another try. Like, he's just a freak athlete, Mark Nwonganitawase, and I'm really excited to see what he accomplishes in the league. Dom Young, Tupou, rightly so, gets the credit for that game-saving tackle, but I thought Dominic Young was really, really good defensively in this one. And when you consider that normally he's not very good, I think he deserves a lot of love. The 2 sets essentially before that try-saving tackle, game-saving tackle by Tupou, we had Dominic Young cleaning up a grubber in the in-goal, which if he's not there for, Panthers score. Then the next set, he knocks down a pass and almost takes an intercept, which if he doesn't do that, Panthers score. And then, of course, it's right at the end, Tupou makes that tackle, Tupou gets the credit. And as I said, Tupou deserves the credit. It was a great tackle, and it was game-saving. But Dominic Young had some fantastic defensive plays in this game that, it should not go unnoticed. I thought he was really, really good out there. So, a massive shout-out to Dom Young. I thought Sandon Smith was really great. Another try for him. 5 from 7 goals, 2 line break assists, 1 try assist, 108 metres. Nafahu White was fantastic. Connor Watson, 2 tries in 80 minutes at hooker, 12 runs, 102 metres, 1 line break, 6 tackle breaks, 49 tackles with 1 missed. Like, just absurd numbers from him. As I said, everyone in this team deserves a massive amount of applause, and I'm not going to be able to name all of them. Blake Steep was good off the bench. I liked his battle with Liam Henry. I thought Taylor Lasalu was really, really good off the bench as well. That's the thing, when you consider the names of this bloody bench against that Panthers side, it's just absurd. And I believe it was Hugo Savala who made his NRL debut in this one, and honestly, what a fucking debut to make. I don't think he thought he was going to be doing this. Like, making a debut, great thing, but shit, we've just conceded 50 points to the Broncos, and I have to make my debut against the Panthers. I'm sure he thought he was in for a tough night, and then to get that win for his debut, fantastic stuff. But we've rambled on way too long for this game. Regardless, unbelievable performance by the Roosters, and shout out to them. The next game, of course, the Dragons and the Rabbitohs. And the Rabbitohs winning this one 25-24. And they were good, the Rabbitohs. They definitely were not a bad team. But the Dragon, I don't think the Rabbitohs won this one. I thought the Dragons just lost it, to be honest. If it wasn't for the 3 missed conversions by Holmes, which any one of those missed conversions, if he hits them, one of them, they win the game. But I'm not going to put it all on Holmes. They just didn't have the effort at the end there when the game's in the balance. They didn't try. The field goal that Jamie Humphries kicks, which we will get to, but that field goal, nobody rushed up. No one gave a shit. The ball went to ground and then got passed to Jamie Humphries. The Dragons had ample opportunity to get up there and get in his face, and they didn't. With the game on the line, and Jamie Humphries has the opportunity to catch the ball, which, by the way, he caught behind him, then dropped it onto his left foot and slid it over. How has he got time to get the ball when it's already bouncing on the ground, take it from behind him because it's a bad pass to him, then turn around and put it on his left foot and put it over to win the game with no one in his face? I just thought it was really, really poor from the Dragons and really disappointing. I tipped them to win this game. I've been pretty darn big on them, throughout the preseason. I love their signings. And again, they showed some good stuff in this game. They scored more tries than the Rabbitohs. They were probably the better side, and they just let this game slip through no fault of their own, to be honest. So, yeah, I thought it was just a really disappointing really disappointing loss from the Dragons, and they're going to regret that. And I don't blame Shane Flanagan for blowing up in the press conference. Maybe a few different ways to go about it, but I don't blame him. For the Rabbitohs, they're taking this every day of the week. We mentioned similarly last week with their injuries, who they're missing. A game like this is actually huge for them to pick up early in the season. Get as many scrappy wins as you can, and then when you get your big dogs back, you can, lean into your game plans. But I thought it was a really good win for the Rabbitohs, maybe undeservedly, but it wasn't through their own fault. They tried hard and they got the win, so massive shout out to them. In terms of standouts, we will start with the Rabbitohs since we're on them. Jai Gray, once again, we mentioned pretty extensively last week that you just have to find a way to put him in this side. And, I said, can't put him in the centres and you can't really put Latrell Mitchell back to centre to accommodate him, mainly because Jack Whiten and Campbell Graham are so damn good. But holy shit, 311 metres Jai Gray ran for, and he scored one of their tries as well. 29 runs, 311 metres, 1 try, 1 line break, 4 tackle breaks. Maybe he is your fullback. Latrell looks fit and you want him at fullback. But also, I believe it was, I can't exactly remember who said it, but they raised a good point to get both these guys in the side. If you want to name Jai Gray at centre, I don't know, maybe move Campbell Graham to a wing or Jack Whiten to somewhere else. If you wanted to fit them in, you can find a way to do this. Maybe even Jai Gray to wing. I think he could pull it off. But if you wanted to, name Jai Gray or someone at wing and then get him through this tough stuff, on tackle fives and stuff, get him to be the person who goes back and make the carries out of his own half. You don't need Latrell Mitchell doing that. During that sort of stuff, Latrell can just sit in at centre, Jai Gray can go up the back and he can make these meters. Then when you get into attacking opposition, Jai Gray can park himself on a wing and Latrell can be the fullback and attack an attacking opposition. I don't see why that really wouldn't work. Maybe defensively, Jai Gray can be a target, but I don't know. I think with everything he brings, it's a risk that I'd be willing to take, especially because their wingers at the moment aren't in the greatest of health. They're still missing some players like Tyrone Munro and Alex Johnston. They did just sign Michaeli Ravalawa, who I think is a really good get for the rest of this season, but I don't know. I'd be finding a way to put Jai Gray in your side, especially with the numbers he's punching out. Campbell Graham, I thought, was solid once again. 13 runs, 122 metres in this one. Bailey Bentley-Harpe, I thought he was solid on his debut, and shout out to him for the debut. Cody Walker, Jamie Humphries, really good again. Cody Walker scoring that try. Jamie Humphries kicking 4 from 4 goals and having that field goal. And once again, defending really, really well. Targeted again in defence and came up with 26 tackles for only 3 missed. Thought he was exceptional. Sean Keppie was really, really good. Scored a try, 64 minutes, 141 metres, and 40 tackles with only 3 missed. Exceptional stuff from Sean Keppie. Peter Mamouzelos was great, 38 tackles, 2 missed tackles, 1 try, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist. He was great. So, really good performance by the Rabbitohs. As I said, I don't think they were poor, but they I don't think they were the better team, but they got the win. Over to the Dragons. Let's go through their standouts quicker because I'm running out of time. Clint Gutherson, unbelievable and just so good that he is in their side. 19 runs, 193 metres, 2 line breaks, 3 line break assists, 2 try assists, 7 tackle breaks. We mentioned last week that he is an elite attacking player, even if he's not doing the stuff that James Tedesco and Tom Trbojevic and Kalen Ponga are doing. Even if he's not making these easy line breaks and stepping through and using his speed, he is so footy smart and he has so much effort that he makes overlaps, he creates stuff, he has such an underrated passing game, and he is an elite fullback, and he essentially has been for the best part of a decade now, so love what he's brought to this side. Christian Tuipulotu, backing up from where he left off last week, 239 metres from 18 runs, 1 try, 3 line break assists, 1 try assist, 4 tackle breaks. His wing partner in this one, Tyrell Sloan, who has bulked up and got through a lot of work in this one, 22 runs, 223 metres, 2 tries, 2 line breaks as well. Thought he looked fantastic, and I'm loving the look of him there. And in the forward pack, Jaden Sewer made 152 metres and was great defensively. Jack DeBellin, 15 runs for 143 metres. And Toby Couchman, who came off the bench but still punched out 62 minutes. Thought he was really, really good with 17 runs, 170 metres and 45 tackles for only 1 miss as well. And lastly, Kyle Flanagan with 2 tries, thought was really, really good as well. As I said, really disappointing loss from the Dragons, but hopefully they build on that and they come back better. Moving into the Cowboys and the Sharkies game. So coming into the final 4 games, and we're going to try and get through them a bit quicker. Sharkies winning this one, 36-12. Really good win from the Sharkies, to be honest. Like, I don't know there's many more questions that people had about this team from the preseason and from the last couple of seasons that haven't really been answered yet. I thought they're going about their business the best way that they can. I'm loving the combination of Trindle and Hines. I like how they've got their set sides, and I like when they do mix it up and, run both sides, how their shapes look. I thought their wingers were fantastic. Both wingers running for 229 metres in this one. 1 try from Mulatalo, 2 tries for Stone Street. And, Cato was still out for I think most of the season or half the season or something like that. Stone Street is someone who is very much NRL ready. He's so darn safe under the high ball. Like, he did have 1 error, which I think led to a Cowboys try, but most of the time he's a target in attack to just kick to him, and he's really safe in defense. And the Cowboys kept targeting him, and more often than not, they lived to regret that. So I thought he was fantastic. Will Kennedy, and someone that we mentioned last week defensively, and once again this week was fantastic defensively. He had that try saver on Murray Talangi, which was just unreal. I love what he's doing beyond his defense too. He's making every run count. He looks dangerous. 14 runs, 126 metres, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists. He's got great hands. He's good defensively. He chimes into their attacks well. And the big thing is, he's not a superstar, so you're not paying him $1 million. I think William Kennedy is what the Sharks need. Maybe, maybe you benefit from a James Tedesco on the side. Every team sort of does, but I think maybe you're looking at too many chefs in the kitchen if that's the case. I think the Sharks don't need someone like Tedesco to win a premiership, and I think with Kennedy playing the way he is, they can definitely win a premiership with him in that role. So massive shout out to Kennedy, especially when you consider all the critics of him in the preseason and of the last couple seasons. Their centres, both tremendous. I'll just read numbers here. 22 runs, 189 metres from Jesse Ramian, 7 tackle breaks. Cal Ido, who made our team of the week. I thought he was the best centre in the NRL this week. 2 tries from Ido, 14 runs, 113 metres, 2 line breaks, and 12 tackle breaks. He was unstoppable. He looks so good, looks so filled out into his frame, and just such a handful. He was just unreal. We mentioned the wingers, both were fantastic. Trindle and Hines looked great again. Hines with 3 line break assists, 1 try assist, 120 metres. And, players like Adam Fanua-Blake, who they brought to the club, didn't need to do all that much. He just got through work in this one, and they win. Both second rowers scored tries and ran good lines. Cameron McInnes done all the hard work. It's just it's a well-oiled machine, this Sharkies side. Every player knows their role. They've got depth across their entire squad. I love this Sharkies side. So I'm sort of just going to leave it there. But yeah, the 36-12 win, fantastic from them. The Cowboys, look, I thought it was a better performance than their round one performance, but honestly not by much. They were willing to go like tit for tat with the Sharks in the middle for at least half the game, I want to say. But the big thing about them is they just tired out a lot quicker. And this game was in North Queensland. In the heat, you expect this side to be used to these sort of conditions and to not tire as fast. You'd think they'd win that duel. But no, at about the 15 to 20 minute mark, after every run, after every tackle, there were hands on hips, hands on head. They were blowing. And I don't think it's necessarily because they were getting rolled by the Sharks, because I thought it was pretty even in that forward pack, sort of battle in the middle for a decent portion of the game. Sure, maybe the missed tackles added up on them, all those missed tackles on especially the outside backs. But again, they only have themselves to blame for that. They either look underdone, not fit enough, or they look like they were worked too heavily in the off-season and it's taken their toll on the team now. So I'm really worried about them. I know they've had a tough, opening start to the season with two really good attacking sides, but yeah, I'm really worried about this Cowboys side. They just don't seem to be turning up for each other, to be honest. Scott Drinkwater's trying to do absolutely everything out there, and he needs to because no one else is doing a whole lot. Jackson Purdue copping lots of shit. Again, a target in defense and wasn't fantastic in defense. I don't think he was that bad, to be honest. I don't think he was really awful. And the big thing about him is, again, we mentioned it last week, he tries so hard. There's the Stone Street break, and Purdue sprints from way back where to run him down. He makes a tackle, and then he gets sent to the sin bin for holding on too long, which is tough. And they, conceded points in that time. But I love the effort of Jackson Purdue. Like, no one else is making that run back there to stop Stone Street. So I want him to stay in this side. I want to persist with Purdue. I think he's got so much. He did also score a try, though then again wasn't really through his own play. It was sort of clean-up work. But I want to see him stay in this side. Beyond that, I thought Murray Talangi was pretty poor. Dearden tried, but couldn't do anything. And Thomas Duffy, who I defended last week, this week wasn't as impressed with. Like, defensively, 17 tackles, 5 misses. Isn't atrocious, but it's not very good. But yeah, there just wasn't much to his game in this one. And last week against whoever they lost to, Manly, he was up against Ola Kawatu. I gave him a bit of leniency. I thought he defended well. This game, I wanted to see a little bit more from him, and didn't really see that. But again, it's hard to do it with that behind a forward pack that isn't really winning the battle. Standout players, Sam McIntyre was solid. I thought John Bateman was really solid, and I liked a bit of Kai O'Donnell. But besides that, really not too much from them. So I'm really worried about what the Cowboys can produce this season all of a sudden. But as I said, they will get a few dry tracks. Well, assumedly, this was a dry track that they should have put points on, and they really didn't. So who knows what they're going to be producing. I don't think they'll come last. I think they'll pick up some wins and they'll get a bit of form, and they might go on a few runs. But yeah, definitely not a very good start to the season for the Cowboys. Moving on to the Raiders and the Broncos game. And the Raiders getting a very big upset victory in this one, 32-22. Now, we said it last week in the review. I thought the Raiders would go close, but again, I didn't tip them because, or maybe even if Tarpany was in the side, I still might not have picked them. But with Tarpany out, I was like, I don't know if they will be able to match it with the Broncos in the forward pack. I thought it would be a much tighter affair than many were suggesting. And I thought, for maybe a large portion of the game, they would go head-to-head. Corey Horsburgh and Josh Papali'i, or Josh Papali, I think he prefers to be called. I thought they'd go toe-to-toe for a while, but in the back end, they'd sort of get blown out. Well, not blown out by a substantial margin, but when they're tired, they'd leak a couple late and lose the game. For them to go head-to-head against this Broncos pack, who's one of the best in the entire NRL, to go head-to-head and beat them is just unreal. And now they've got two massive wins to start the season, a big win over the Warriors in Vegas, and a big win, maybe not score-wise, they only won by 10 points, but they scored 32 points on the Broncos. I am so keen on this Raiders side. They're playing with a lot of passion and energy. And, that you still look at the side and you go, they're missing explosiveness. And they're missing, your out-and-out guns. But they're winning these games. They're another team that just turn up for each other in every aspect of the game. I love what I'm seeing from the Canberra Raiders. As I said, I didn't think the Broncos were necessarily poor. I thought Reece Walsh was very poor, and we'll touch on him now. I think it was 4 or 5 errors from him. He just was forcing his hand all the time. 4 handling errors, and couldn't make anything come of it. Every pass was just missing the assignment. But I'm not going to put it all on Reece Walsh, but it is harder when one of your star players is just off his game. But the Raiders made him off his game, and that's what I like to see. So, I just thought it was a unreal win from the Raiders. And their forward pack, Josh Papali, I think it is, and Corey Horsburgh, to go up against Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan and win that forward pack duel. And again, you look at numbers, Carrigan and Haas, outstanding, and they didn't have bad games, not at all. But I think Papali and Horsburgh especially just took it to them physically, and they got the chockies in the end. And also, Papali scored a try, and Horsburgh set up a try. So I loved what I saw from them. In terms of those two numbers, by the way, Papali, as I said, with that try, 16 runs, 135 metres, 4 tackle breaks. And Corey Horsburgh, 19 runs, 132 metres, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 2 offloads, and 24 tackles for 1 miss. So they were both exceptional. In fact, this entire Raiders pack was exceptional, and they had to beat this Broncos side. I thought Hudson Young was really good. I thought Zach Hosking was fantastic. He had 18 runs for 141 metres. Young had 148 metres as well. Morgan Smithies was really good when he got on the field. And the big one that we haven't even mentioned was Matty Nicholson, the Pommy second rower, making his debut and crashing over for 2 tries. Now, he was listed at lock. He didn't really play it. I'm pretty sure Zach Hosking actually moved into the middle and played in the middle. Nicholson played 65 minutes on that right second row, 2 tries off fantastic lines, 7 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 7 runs, 55 metres, and 33 tackles for 1 miss. What a debut. What a knock for Matty Nicholson. And I'm pretty sure Zach Hosking has picked up a hand injury, could be a broken hand. Expected to miss some game time now. I think Matty Nicholson will fill that very, very nicely. Another great game from Thomas Starling as well. Though I'm a little bit concerned with the way he was barking a bit and yelling some profanity at his captain and halfback and Jamal Fogarty. So maybe there's a reason that they've gone out. This is purely speculation. As I said, I don't really know Starling from a bar of soap, and I thought he was fantastic in this game. But with the way he started this season and the reason they haven't, really given him that shot in the past few seasons to really be this player he is today, and why they've gone out and signed Jaden Brayley, maybe it's because of this sort of stuff behind the scenes. So, it was a bit nervous, and I don't know the inner workings, I don't know the behind the scenes, but I didn't really like what I saw of, that little Fogarty and Starling interaction. If you saw that, you know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to put much more attention to it. As I said, he had a really good game otherwise, and he's had a fantastic start to this season. Great, fantastic game from the Raiders. For the Broncos, as I said, it was a disappointing game, but they weren't abysmal. I think the Raiders were just so good, and they played a brand of footy that can upset the Broncos. The Broncos will get a few more losses. Yes, they'll have these big wins like they did against the Roosters, but they are still going to have their losses. There are ways to get around them. There are ways to upset their flamboyant style of play. Reece Walsh, when he's unsettled, he has a poor game like this, and you can get under the skin of Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds and put them off their game as well. So there's going to be a few games like that, but I just thought that they were just outclassed by a better footy team in this one. The Canberra Raiders were on their day, and the Broncos weren't necessarily off it. So I think they they'll come back better from this, but yeah, unfortunate little loss for them in this one. In terms of their standouts, Dean Mariner. Honestly, I've had my concerns about Dean Mariner over the past couple of seasons, but I thought he was really, really good in this game. He just kept trying all the way to the very end. It was an absolute handful every time he touched the ball. Ended up 16 runs for 227 metres, two line breaks and a fair few tackle breaks. Where were those tackle breaks? 6 tackle breaks from him as well. This is the sort of footy we know Mariner can do, and it's the footy I want to see. Just kept trying. So if he's going to cement himself in this side in the centres when Tony Staggs gets back, it needs to be these sort of performances. I thought he was really good. Jesse Arthurs, I thought was really, really good as well. Of course, scoring a hat-trick is always going to make you stand out. 16 runs, 136 metres, 2 line breaks, and 5 tackle breaks. But he's just a classy player, Jesse Arthurs. Always had a lot of time from him. He used to be a fullback coming through the grades. I believe he was Titans. He might have been somewhere else before that. But I loved what I saw of him back then. He's gone around the world a little bit with a few different clubs, but now he's cemented himself in the NRL, and he's a classy footballer. He moves very well. Not the fastest, not the strongest, but he's just got a bit of everything to him, and I thought he was really, really good in this game. Adam Reynolds, fantastic with his kicking game. Like we know, he's essentially the best kicker of the footy in the NRL. 2 try assists, 1 to Jesse Arthurs, 1 to Selwyn Cobbo. So both wingers, both off his, both off the boot, with just deft kicks over the top. He was great. Carrigan we mentioned, but I'll run through those numbers. 17 runs, 147 metres, and 29 tackles from Carrigan at prop. And Payne Haas in 57 minutes had 20 runs, 164 metres, 4 tackle breaks, and 36 tackles, 0 missed. Corey Pakes, by the way, 44 tackles, 0 missed at hooker in 54 minutes. Another reason we like him is he's getting through that hard stuff. Beyond that, not a whole lot that was necessarily stand out for them. As I said, it wasn't a bad game, and I think they'll come back better. But yeah, not a fantastic one. That moves us on to the Eels and the Tigers. So the Tigers winning this one 32-6. Now, we picked the Tigers. I didn't expect it to be this emphatic. The Eels, honestly, that start on the Eels, they look very, very bad. In this game in particular, they were just trying to force their hand every single set. They had no depth in their attack. They had really poor discipline and with a lot of unforced errors and lazy penalties. And they just couldn't build any pressure out there. There was moments where, like, one that springs to mind is Zach Lomax roaming, which, as he should, when he marquee plays, he's got so much talent. He was roaming, and then he's over sort of to the left-hand side, and it was Stafford Toa who had a fantastic game and made our team of the week, by the way. He rushes up out of line with a great defensive read on Lomax, hits him right under the ball, picks up the leg, drives him back, and Lomax going backwards instead of just succumbing to a dominant tackle, tries to force the ball. It's an error. They drop it, and this is in field position. They can score off the back of this. But there's an error, and then they're layering up. There's push and shove because he's fucked up and he's emotional about it. And those are just examples. That's not all on Zach Lomax. As I said, Lomax tried his heart out there. He had 197 metres. But that was just one of those sort of examples of me just trying to highlight their discipline being quite poor. And I'm just worried that they're not going to win many football games when they're playing like that. Yeah, to concede 32 points to the team that's run last 3 years in a row and to only score 6, which I think is the bigger concern out of this for the Eels. Yeah, I'm quite worried about them, to be honest. On the flip side, though, I thought the Tigers looked really, really good, played with a lot of enthusiasm, and that's the main thing I really want to be seeing out of them at this point of the season. They had some pretty expansive plays as well that led to some pretty darn exciting attacking tries. But yeah, I guess it's hard to take away a little bit because it was helped by how poor the Eels were defensively. Will Penasini especially had an absolute shocker in defence, and the Tigers ripped them apart down that right-hand side. So Yeah, definitely helped by the Eels being really poor, but you can only play what's in front of you. They put 32 points on. They played out of their own end. They played expansive footy for a team with a lot of new players. I thought they were fantastic, to be honest. And in terms of their standout players, again, you could go through everyone. Doreen Buller was outstanding with, again, stats not really telling the story. 107 metres, 3 line break assists, 1 try assist, 3 tackle breaks. But he just looked so damaging every time he had the footy. I thought he was great. Sinan Taruva with a hat trick in his second appearance for the club, layering up and showing a lot of passion as well. 16 runs, 168 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 3 tries. Fantastic. Adam Dewey was great. 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist. Was great with the boot, 4 out of 6 conversions, but some fantastic ones in there. 142 metres. Stafford Toa, as I mentioned, made our team of the week. Had some really, really good defensive plays. I thought, yeah, his reads and especially his one-on-one contact were exceptional. And for someone who I haven't really thought of him as one of those players, I was really impressed by what he did in his return from injury. Also scored a try, had 129 metres, had a line break assist, and had a try assist. So I thought he was fantastic. Skelton, 23 runs, 184 metres, and another try from him. Galvin, exceptional. 12 runs, 117 metres, a try, a line break assist, 2 try assists, 5 tackle breaks, just doing his thing. Everyone in this Tigers team deserves a shout out. And I'm, again, not going to go through all of them. The last main man I want to mention is Terrell May. He is superhuman, to be honest. 21 runs, 176 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, 43 tackles, 1 miss, and how many metres was it? Yeah, 21 runs, 176 metres. In 64 minutes, but that was 64 minutes straight. He could have played the full 80. We said that last week, and we could say it again this week. He is a freak of a human being, freak of an athlete. He could play 80 minutes at prop, and he wouldn't even break a sweat. He is so good. I thought his prop partner, Afanu Apollo, was really good in bigger minutes as well. 57 minutes, 13 runs, 120 metres, and 30 tackles from him. Once again, Alex Twal, 33 tackles, 0 missed. Seyfarth had 40 tackles. There's a lot to like about this this Tigers side. And Royce Hunt as well, thought was really good with some massive carries off the bench. So they could not have done much better in this game. They were exceptional. For the Eels, as I said, really, really, really poor, and I'm really worried about them. I thought with all their new signings and whatnot, they'd be really enthusiastic to jump out of the gates and show why they deserve to be here. They haven't really looked like that. They're still missing in key areas. Their second row was a big concern. Jack Williams, I thought, was really good. I thought he was by far their best out there. So he started in second row, and then he went into the middle at about the 20-minute mark where Kitione Katonga came onto the field. And shout out Katonga for his NRL debut. And I thought he looked pretty good. Hopefully he can be the man at second row for them. But yeah, it was more so aligned with the fact that at that point was when Jack Williams went into the middle and he just excelled there. And I think that's where you want him in the middle with that leg speed. I think Junior Paulo and Jack Williams have to be your front rowers moving forward. It just also sort of coincided, like as I said, him moving to the middle instantly had like a 15-metre run up the guts and then followed it up with the next set in defence with 2 huge hits on the Tigers. I love his defence. I love how he runs, his leg speed, his intensity. I thought he was by far their best player. I think Paulo was fine, Junior Paulo. Volkman was fine. Brown was fine, not very great. Jordan Semrani on debut on the wing, I thought he was probably their second best. 15 runs, 194 metres, 1 line break, 7 tackle breaks. Just made a few attacking opportunities. And as I said, Zach Lomax, 25 runs, 197 metres, 8 tackle breaks. As I said, couple errors, but he was always just trying, and that's what you want out of your star recruit. So, again, it's really hard to get a read on this side on a lot of their new players and whatnot, but just a really disappointing game from them. And I don't know how they're going to progress heading into the rest of the season. But hopefully, as soon as they get Moses back, they kick on. But they really need to find a way to kick on without him at the moment. So, yeah, really disappointing from the Eels. The less said, the better, to be honest. Let's do our last game. The Bulldogs defeating the Titans in the final game on the Sunday, 40-24. And what a game from the Bulldogs in this one, to be honest. It's a more expansive style of footy from them. And I thought that in the first game, but then to see it again in this game, to put 40 points on any team's exceptional. You know, the Titans aren't the best defensive team. We've always known that. But any team to put 40 on is a massive knock, especially the Bulldogs. They've mainly been known for their gritty defense, and they still have that. They still have that defensive steel and that ferocity and that line speed and that scramble. That's still all there. But now they have this expansive style of footy that makes them so much more dangerous than what they were in 2024 when they made the finals. So I'm really excited for them. You know, they got that win over the Dragons last week. You know, Titans put a few late points on them in this week, but the Titans also a pretty darn good attacking side. You expect to leak a few points here and there. I was really impressed with the Bulldogs. I just liked the way that they were willing to spread the ball out of their own end, you know, early in sets and out of their own end. And yeah, you combine that with their defense and their line speed, and you have a very, very hard team to beat. So loved what I saw from them. For the Titans, this was our first look of them in the NRL this season. You know, we saw them in their trials, and it was mixed bag there. It's going to be a weird season for them. I don't think you can put this game on their halves. I think in the middle, they were sort of just rolled by the Bulldogs. And I'll tell you who else you can't put it on. You can't put it on Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. In his first game back, he was blowing a bit there. I think he played 23, 25 maybe in his opening stint. And he was tired. It's his first game back from an ACL injury. He looked tired. Like, the pace of the game was getting to him. He needed a break. But after maybe 7 minutes or something on the bench, he just knew he needed to be back out there for his side. He needed to just try and inspire them. And he got back out there. He was making 2 runs a set. He was making 3 tackles a set. He was trying to do everything for this side. And that's what you want to see from your captain. 54 minutes he knocked out on his return from injury, which is a really good knock at lock forward, especially, with how long he's been out. Scored a try, 15 runs, 124 metres, 1 line break, 7 tackle breaks, 38 tackles, 5 misses. He tried so hard. What a captain, what a leader. I'm so excited for him to grow into this season and start getting back to his 60, 65, 70-minute games. And then I think that the Titans will be able to win a few more, but they are going to need their other front rowers to step up. Fodawaker was fine. Campbell Gillard was pretty average in my opinion. Fermor was really good, to be fair. I really liked what Fermor was doing, but again, was sort of getting monstered by the line speed a lot, but he just kept turning up, and he's another player I really like for that. Of course, 130 metres from him, and he had a nice little tip on try assist to Khan Pereira, and he made 30 tackles for 1 miss. The big one in this one, the big talking point, David Fifita, only 31 minutes, kept off the field until the second half, and then, only 30 minutes on the field. You need more out of Fifita. Cleese is a fine footy player, but you need Fifita playing 80 minutes or at least 60, 70. I don't know what the real deal is here, especially after all the drama of last season, the contract and Roosters and yada, yada, yada. Then for him to backflip and re-sign, like you want him here, you just re-signed him. You did everything to get him to stay, and now you played him 30 minutes. What's the go? I don't understand. I don't know if it's because he was injured and, they're still just easing him back into the game through injury, but yeah, it's sort of baffling me in this one. Their halves, the other sort of talking point. I don't think you can put this game on them, as I said. I thought they were fine. They looked threatening. Jaden Campbell, he has a boot on him that I really didn't think he had. I think that was the big thing, is their kicking game this season and how that was going to really work. But I thought Jaden Campbell here, he looked really good with the boot, and AJ Brimson had some decent kicks as well. 399 kick meters from Jaden Campbell, 178 from Brimson. So I liked what I saw there. They still had some threatening moments in, running the ball. Keanu Keeney, mainly monstered by the Bulldogs in defense, and he's someone that I have been huge on this preseason. Super coach, footy, every other perspective. I think he's in for a breakout. If you considered last year a breakout season for him, I think this year he's going to explode. But the Bulldogs did well to keep him pretty darn quiet. He had 18 runs, as he's always going to do, but only 131 metres, 1 line break, 4 tackle breaks. He did have that try assist from that line break as well, but that would have contributed to a few metres as well. So I think the Bulldogs did really, really well to shut him down. Besides that, Phil Sami I thought was good, 20 runs for 204 metres. But yeah, it's just a really interesting sort of game from the Titans in this one. I think they'll build into this combination more and more as the season progresses, but they're going to need more out of their key players, especially in that forward pack, especially from their key signings like Regan Campbell-Gillard. So yeah, tough sort of opening to go to Belmore against a Doggies team that's in this sort of mood, but I want to see more out of the Titans moving forward. And honestly, guys, that's going to wrap us up. Probably spent a little bit less time on these last few clubs than I wanted to, but this podcast has been going for longer than I intended it to in the first place. So thank you guys for tuning into this one. Moving forward, we're going to keep them sort of at this hour to an hour 20 length, hopefully more towards an hour. We will start putting tips at the end of them so we can get into a little bit of the predictions. And I don't think at this stage that we will be getting our co-host Riley onto these podcasts in the next couple of weeks. Just scheduling conflicts with mainly my life stuff. It's not on him. A lot of things sort of popping up. Hasn't really entitled us to do that. But hopefully we can get him onto this in the future. And if not, you'll be seeing him on the page, on the Instagram page. And we have some other sneaky videos and podcasts that we'll be planning for the podcast as well. Thank you guys for tuning into this one. Let's look forward to a great week 3 of the NRL season ahead. Cheers, much love, bye-bye.